Hi, my name is Dan Zeilinger, and I have been a world-traveling full-time trad jazz musician for the past 40 years. Some of my most memorable performances were on the lawn of the Edinburgh Castle, at Imperial Palace in Japan, as well as TV shows and commercials across the world. I've met many people during my career and have spent many hours on stage and off with these musicians, talking about jazz, life, and more. Some are touring musicians, some are theme park warriors, and some are casual musicians who play on the weekends with friends. I think they all have stories worthy of a movie script, and through these interviews, I'll be sharing them with you. Hi there, this is Dan Zeilinger with Trad Jazz Today, and my next guest is somebody who's been very important in the resurrection of my career, which was just about dead when he met me. I'd laid off of playing this style for a long time, and then a good friend of ours, Westy Westenhofer, kind of prodded me back into action, and CJ was good enough to hire me. So here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. CJ Sams. Hi, CJ.
Hello. It's good to see you.
You too. I don't know about the Dodgers shirt, but are you as big of a fan as your wife?
Getting there. And it's funny because there's no reason for it. Just last year, she said, "Let's go to some Dodger games," and we did, and enjoyed the heck out of it. Now we can't go see them.
When I was talking to Hugh Van Kleist, who was my previous interview, he actually tried to become a baseball player for 6 years and stopped playing any instrument altogether while he tried that. And he said he realized he just wasn't good enough. And I said, you realize that there's a real connection between jazz and baseball, because actually Harry James used to hire his band on how well they played baseball, because they had band teams in the 40s.
Yes.
So it's nothing new. And I know quite a few people that play jazz that were trying to be baseball players originally. I guess that's all we are,
Right.
A home away from home for wayward athletes, I guess. I'm not sure. But anyway, thank you so much for doing this. Those of you, I understand that a lot of the people I've been wanting to interview have declined. Yes, right, declined, because that's why they play music. It's because they can't express themselves verbally, and they express themselves through their music.
Well, that makes sense.
So I understand that. But let's talk about your beginnings. So, am I right that you were born in Long Beach?
I was born in Long Beach, California. My dad was born in Long Beach, California. And I've lived here all my life.
Wow. You really ought to get out more often. My wife also was born in Long Beach, and her parents and family all came from Long Beach, and then they ended up in Huntington. But at least they moved, down the street a little bit to Huntington. That's really interesting. And when did your music start? When did you realize you wanted to play music? Were your parents musical?
My parents were musical. My mother played the flute very well. My father played the violin and viola very well. And my mom directed the church choir. My dad sang in the choir. And so I started on trumpet in the 5th grade here in the school system. And I played trumpet until junior high school. And my teeth were crooked, so I got braces on my teeth. And the trumpet mouthpiece hurt to play. So I was able to switch to tuba, because that fit right around the braces. And I wanted to play tuba all along anyway. So.
Yeah, it's because you're a strange child.
Yes.
The question everybody really wants to know is your first name Culberth?
Let me see. Let me think about that. No.
So, you always suspect people who use initials. Look at L. Ron Hubbard, for example.
Yeah.
People with initials. I suppose in your spare time you wear a mask too, but
Well,
actually that applies now, doesn't it? Well, anyway, back to what we were talking about. And then and so you started playing trumpet in what grade? Fourth?
fifth grade.
Okay. And then you went to Jordan High School.
So let's see. Fifth grade, I was 21 at the time.
That's what I call a slow starter.
Yes. No, let's see. I went to Hughes Junior High School and then Jordan High School in London.
Were you in the junior high band also?
Yes.
On trumpet?
Yes. It was in junior high school. The first 2 years, I guess, was on trumpet, and the last year was on tuba.
Was your teacher influential in junior high school? Did he draw you into music or push you away from it?
Neither one, but he was very supportive, and he was a piano player, and so in junior high school, let's see, my folks found a little E flat tuba for me, so that made the transition from trumpet easier. I just added, add 3 flats and read it like it's
right, like it's treble clef.
Yeah. So I did that for a while until I determined that's what I wanted to play.
Have you dabbled in any other instruments?
No, we had a piano, but nobody really played it, and I never really took to it. Later on, I tried to play it, and I just couldn't get the left hand and the right hand to cooperate together.
And now, when did singing take hold?
Actually, I didn't really sing until the last year of college.
Wow.
I played in the band and orchestras all through school, junior high school, and went to Long Beach City College, played in the band. And Mr. Ron Logan was the band director. I think it was his first year there. That was my first year there. My brother was the drum major at Jordan High School and at Long Beach City College. He played trombone.
So you've been in the shadow of your brother all these years.
Well, not really. He gave up trombone and became a lawyer.
Ah, he wanted money.
Yes. Well,
The fool. Oh, no.
so let's see.
How was he as a trombone player? I want to get back to him for a minute.
Okay. He was very good. He was a good player. I don't know if he would have been a good trad or regular jazz player, but he was a good regular player.
Uh-huh.
And,
Oh.
yeah, yes. Whatever that means.
Classically trained
Yes.
high school and college musician.
Yes. He played a duet with Andy Solom. I don't know if Andy Solom was I've never heard Andy mentioned in trad circles, but he was an excellent trombonist and baritone horn player, I believe. And they came over, and their big number that they played together was Begin the Begee, the trombone duet. And Andy's tone was just beautiful. It was just nice, big and fat, and my gosh, I just listened to the two of them play, and it was wonderful.
Cool. I should interject a little. Of course, as you know, I can't stop talking anyway. But I should interject here that I've told everybody the reason this is called trad jazz today is because it's no longer politically correct to say Dixieland. It's not because I want to focus on 1950s English bands, but I kind of just using it as a thread to weave these interviews together. I have a couple of people I've interviewed that have only done 1 or 2 early classic jazz gigs in their life, but that was enough for me to justify in my own brain to interview them on this channel. But like John Van Houten, for example, is you know John or of John?
I don't think so.
He's the tuba player in LA right now. He's on every movie for the last 30 years. But he
Okay.
played a gig with me back in the early days when I was playing cornet in a water style band, and he came in to play tuba on one set.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he tells me that he's really sorry that he didn't pursue it. But he's making all the money in the world thinking movies, so I don't know what that means. But anyway, so just to let you know that we don't always have to reference trad in what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay. So anyway, I went all through school playing in the band and the orchestra, and then uh, my last couple of years at Cal State LA, uh, I was in the pep band, and one of the trumpet players was in the men's glee club, and he got a couple of us interested in joining that. So that's actually when I started singing.
Wow. You're a very good singer. I mean, both you and your wife, you know what I do. And it's nice to hear people that, of course, we should tell the public that doesn't know you personally about your nationally ranked barbershop quartet. And I mean, and I'm just mentioning it mainly because it speaks to your accuracy as far as intonation and knowing how to find harmonies and that kind of stuff, which is another whole act in itself.
Yes, well, I've been in a number of quartets, and the barbershop quartet that I'm in now, the Velvet Frogs, is a senior quartet. We're all senior citizens, and we competed at the senior contest. We played first year we competed, we placed third, and the next year we placed fourth, and then we placed, what was it, sixth or seventh, and then ninth. So we're going the wrong direction. but that's fun.
No,
We'll get
and
into it.
it's also interesting to me that you arrange for quartets.
Oh, not really, not really. I arranged a few in my youth, but I don't really do that anymore.
Should I ask?
Well, I mean, I arrange for us to sing here and there, but
I mean, I've actually, being a friend of Finale, I've actually experimented with different kind of things and tried to lock in the barbershop voicing. And because I'm not experienced in it and I really haven't studied it, I really find it fascinating, the barbershop quartet voicings.
yes. Well, I always I always try to correlate barbershopping to trad jazz.
Are you getting
In,
prompted from the wife?
sorry,
So are you getting prompted from the wife?
no, my other phone was ringing.
Okay, no, I thought you were looking up that. I thought you were looking at Marlis.
No, I was chuckling. I thought that in the middle of this interview, we'll probably get a call from my mother-in-law. She always knows when to call, when it's the most inconvenient time.
I can leave that there.
Yes. So barbershop quartetting, of course, there's four voices, and I always say the lead voice, which is the melody, is kind of like the cornet in a trad jazz band because they're playing the melody, and then the tenor voice, which is always above the melody, is like the clarinet playing the harmonies above, and then the trombone is like the baritone. It's a little lower, but still in the mid range, and then the tuba covers the bass part. So, and so in that sense, they're kind of similar. A trad band is kind of like a barbershop quartet.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the SATB format. I've written for classical choir before and things like that. But what the barbershop quartet classically does with harmonies is different.
Yes, yes, we do a lot. We try to always sing four-note chords. So we stick a lot of sevenths in there where some of them don't belong, but we always stick them in there.
And a lot of suspended chords too that
Yeah.
resolve, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. It may bore you, but I find this fascinating. For somebody who's been in it for a while, I guess. But it works for me. Uh, so, did you ever do your time in marching band?
Yes, I purposely never marched the Rose Parade. I didn't want to have shoulder surgery after that. But yes, I did marching band in high school.
You're talking as someone who knows about shoulder problems, you know. But what can I say? That's our lot in life. How we suffer for our art.
Yes. Well, we should be taller too, but the horns on the shoulder were.
Yeah, it's called compressed spinal cord, I believe. I think that's the technical term for it.
Yeah.
Or just maybe it's our appropriate stature. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not overweight. I'm just short for my weight.
Or as Wesley used to say, I'm not fat, I'm fluffy. Oh, Westy. God, I miss that guy.
So do I. So do I. I was reminiscing when I was listening to your interview yesterday, and I played a gig with Ray. I think I met him at this gig, and Westy was on trombone, and it might have even been John Reynolds on banjo or guitar, and maybe Corey. Anyway, I don't know how I got on this gig, but here I am with these guys, and especially me playing tuba, and Westy's in the band, and he was my idol. So I was just, that was wonderful.
Right guy to idolize. Phenomenal. I used to, if anybody talked to me about Westy, I'd say, there's one guy that I know just kicks my butt across the country and back again, and I'm afraid we all fall into that category,
Yeah, yeah. The first time I met Westy was for a couple of summers in the mid '70s. I was subbing with the Dapper Dans at Disneyland. That's the Barbershop Quartet on Main Street. And they worked weekends, a lot of weekends, and some of my vacation days at the park. And Westy was out there, and we would do one set on the riverboat, and be Ragtime Rod and Sonny Helmer and Westy, and I can't remember if there's anybody else. Anyway, we would do a couple of songs and some tap dances with them, and then I would get to just sit there and watch Ragtime Rod and Westy, and they were so entertaining and looked like they were having more fun than anybody else. That was just wonderful.
Deceiving, isn't it? No, yeah, like I said, if you saw my Ray Templin interview, you know that he's tried to get me to work at the park forever, and because of the reasons I stated, it just never happened.
Yes, I heard that story. That was too bad. Well, you worked at Knott's Berry Farm.
Well, that's true. If you've seen one park, you've seen them all. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, that was Westy's got great. In fact, we're thinking about doing. I've talked to Sharon, Westy's wife, about possibly doing a group Zoom call with like 15 or 20 of us, all relating stories about Westy, her and both of her boys. And like Bill Dendel wants to be on it, and a lot of the guys who worked a lot with Westy.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking about charging that one up here as soon as I get the word from Sharon that she's ready. She was in the middle of producing a musical when I asked her. She said, let me get through this first, and we'll talk about it. So that would be fun, huh?
Absolutely.
And you probably would like to be on that call.
Well, I would like to watch that call. I'm listening.
Well, we'll see. We'll try and make that thing happen. I know John Brand and a lot of these guys that pay homage to Westy, have stories. So
Yes.
what can I say? Yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing this. I had no idea it was going to take off like this either, by the way, the interview thing. It's wonderful.
Well, they've for the most part been very entertaining and educational.
For the most part, let me see. No, I agree. Some of them, excuse me, some of them have been fairly tough, and you can tell that the ones that weren't quite as much fun as I was expecting, but for the most part, it's wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, so we're back to now, as you found out, and I think it's probably what prompted you to go ahead and do an interview with me, is I mentioned your gig in almost every interview.
Yes, thank you.
And well, it's just that a lot of people are envious of the fact that I have a place to go play with friends, or did weekly, and none of us really know what's going to happen when the restaurants, or if the restaurants open back up again.
Yes.
But we're all in the same boat, you know. Unfortunately, I've heard some really bad stories of some people that don't have another income source, friends of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, I don't know what's going to happen as far as a lot of this is concerned. The reaction has been phenomenal, or chain reaction, I should say, actually. I forgot to shut my phone off after I called you.
Oh, that's what it was.
Okay, cool.
That's why Marlis couldn't get you on the phone.
Oh. Well, I was trying to call you at the same time, so.
So you're mentioning my gig, which is at Curly's Cafe in Signal Hill, and it's.
Why is it called the Cherry Willow Jazz Band?
Why?
I mean, it's such an obtuse name.
It's at the corner of Cherry and Willow in Signal Hill, so it became the Cherry Willow Jazz Band. And you're right, it is fun, and it's an opportunity to get together with everybody and play. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay a lot, but it is an opportunity to get out and try to spread the word and entertain the public and keep your chops up and have some fun. Yeah,
you know, my increased footprint on YouTube is largely because I started doing those videos and slideshows of Cherry Willow, and I became a monster. I just started dropping everything I can get my hands on my YouTube channel. But a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people that aren't our fans have found the Cherry Willow site and all the Cherry Willow videos I've been putting up. Very comforting.
Yes.
You know, and that's one of the things. That's the reason I did it. Was our fans, good majority of our fans actually, and the jazz club people, that this is their social life. This is what their existence is based around in large part.
Yes.
And I worried about that as I expressed to you when I asked you if I could do that. But anyway, and then I started putting up all my own stuff, and you got mad at me. But what can I say?
You know how we got that gig?
I don't. Oh, you mean from Jerry?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Let's tell that story.
Oh, Jerry Rothschild. Many people know Jerry. It was passed away just not too long ago. He was a character, and he was a piano player. And let's see, at the time, I met him playing in the Crazy Rhythm Hot Society Orchestra, which he was fired from.
It was actually the first time you came into my consciousness also with that band.
I think you subbed for me.
Well, I did, but before then, when we were doing the festival circuit together, I knew Ray, the trumpet player.
Mondo.
I knew Mondo because he and I were in college bands together, and when I played trumpet. And I knew him and his wife for a long time. And so I used to come around to catch sets. Yeah. And you were, of course, always on Tuba there, and we didn't know each other at the time.
Yes.
But that's when I said, that guy can play. Anyway.
So you're talking about Ray Williams?
Yes, sir.
And we called him Mondo, lovingly. And he had just mentioned that. He said, long time ago, I was in a band with another Ray, and so to keep them apart, one of them was called Reynaldo, and he was Raymond, so they called him Mondo. And so as soon as he told us that story, he became Mondo to us. We always called him Mondo.
I never knew him as Mondo,
Yes.
but we did quite a few big bands together in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Anyway, that's how. So that's when I first noticed you. I think probably at LAX, at the Marriott.
yes, that was certainly one of the places that we played.
Yeah.
So so
You're talking about Crazy Rhythm.
yes. So I'm going back to how Crazy Rhythm got started, and that's another story.
But you met Jerry there.
But met Jerry there, and somehow he found Curly's in Signal Hill, and there's a piano there. I mean, a regular upright, actual piano, not an electric piano. And so he started playing there, and he kept inviting me down to come and play, and I resisted for a while. But I finally went down there, and he invited everybody to come in and play. And sometimes he'd be by himself.
I refused, but
Yeah.
he asked me several million times. Yes.
Yes. And sometimes there were up to like 13 people there all playing. Not 13 musicians necessarily, but 13 people with instruments. Some could play, some just owned them. So anyway, that was kind of a fun. He was there 2 nights a week for a while, Friday and Saturday, and he packed the house. But over the years, he fought with everybody and finally was asked to leave. And,
Yeah, in his own way, just a brilliant guy who just lacked in social skills, basically.
yes, he
But
was,
a knowledgeable piano player.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he liked Lou Waters kind of stuff, and so I learned a lot of the Lou Waters stuff, mostly correctly.
Yeah, my contact with Jerry mostly was he would catch me at a festival, like I'd be at breakfast, and he'd come over and sit down and says, "Hey, Dan, how are you going? I've been meaning to talk to you." And I'd say, "Hey, what's up?" And of course he would invite me to Curly's, but he'd do things like he'd pull a clipboard out of his lunchbox and say, "Now look I've itemized every meal, and I've decided how much every ingredient must have cost for them in order to make the bottom line."
Yes.
Those kind of things. He would usually catch me eating somewhere, and sit down and start talking. A fascinating guy, and what I view as a character, which throws my mind into a loop when people call me a character, because I'm going, am I really Jerry Welch? Anyway.
There are characters, and then there are characters.
But I remember with him at the jazz club in Redondo Beach, and him trying to get me down there an hour early to play with him, and he considered me a good friend, and I can never knock that.
Yeah.
But so you said he didn't get along with anybody. I mean, he was inviting people. He was inviting people down to play, and then he wouldn't split the tips, type of thing, right?
Yeah. There was that, and he was sometimes not very kind to the wait staff, and so the owner got mad at him.
Is it true that he used to relocate the piano too?
Oh, we had to move the piano from one end of the room to the other, and it was an old piano that weighed a ton, and it ended up tearing up the rug between the door and the other side of the room.
Which must be why we don't have rugs anymore there.
Yes.
That's funny. And now, how long have you had the band there?
Well, I think the band has been there about 11 or 12 years.
Now, originally you were playing tuba, and Corey was on trumpet, wasn't he?
when we first put the band in there, it was supposedly going to be our South Burgundy Street band, because Mike had just formed that band, and a number of things happened. One, Corey got pretty busy, and so he couldn't do it every week. And I was starting to play cornet again, and so it gave me an opportunity. And I met you, and you agreed to come down and play. And so if I can play in a band with you, then we'll do it.
Well, I was serious when I said you were largely responsible for the resurrection of my career. Once I got off of 10th Avenue, I was just beat. We were doing 40 plus flights a year, and I stopped playing altogether for 2 years or so.
I saw a few sets with you playing with 10th Avenue, and I was exhausted just watching you.
If you notice, when I left, they didn't replace me with a tuba player. They replaced me with a bass.
I mean, you just were working all the time with that band.
I was doing what they asked. And,
yes.
And of course, that band comes up in almost every interview. And I found out that the Dixieland community didn't take kindly to Ed. And honestly, I really don't get it, because he put his money where his mouth was and fronted all those festivals up and down the coast. But, I mean, there are people that kind of roll their eyes when I mention Ed Zimbrick in that band. And it's mainly because he was playing so many more modern songs and styles for the public.
Yes. It seemed like he was trying to force a lot of trad tunes into a more hip setting.
As you can tell, if on my 10th Avenue cuts on that channel that I have the Cherry Willow stuff on, it's almost sheer rock and roll. Beats like behind the San Francisco Bay Blues and those things.
Yes.
And I was just playing what he had written, by the way. It wasn't me saying, "Yo, Davey, let's play." Les Doyce and I talk about that too.
So when I was playing with Crazy Rhythm, I was playing what was written. That band was a 20s hotel band, trying to be both hot and sweet, and we played a lot of charts, actually from the 20s and 30s, and a lot of charts that Mike had taken off records. Mike Hennebrey was the leader, and clarinet player and saxophones, and he developed that whole book.
I had problems with that book when I subbed with you, and it wasn't because I'm not a decent musician, but like a lot of bands that are organized that way, they will make changes to the arrangements and not tell anybody, or not notate it.
Yes.
And so quite often when I was subbing for you, they'd say, "Oh, no, we don't go to that coda anymore." Or, "Oh, I'm sorry, we go to G there," or whatever it was. Those are fictitious examples.
Well, yeah, there were a couple of egregious examples that would even catch me sometimes, but I tried to notate any changes, but Mike was a little bit fussy about marking up the music. But anyway,
I'm just saying. Go ahead.
That was a reading band. We played the charts and tried to sound like the bands that the original bands. So there wasn't any improvising, at least on my part. There's solos, in the front line, and there was a little freedom there, but it wasn't a lot of improvising.
Yeah, I understand. If you saw my interview with Randy, you couldn't have yet because I don't think it's dropped.
No.
But we talk about Dean Moira's band, and I had subbed for Westy in that band, and he was playing string bass also. So I had to play both.
Yes.
and I talked about the fact that, of course, I don't read that well on string bass, and all their charts, none of them had just changes. They were all written arrangements, like Hannah
Yes.
Bree was, and I literally was sweating through my tuxedo.
Yeah.
And Randy was on drums, and John Reynolds was on guitar, and they were both laughing so hard at me because I literally was sweating through my tuxedo. I made it okay. They never called me back, however. But yeah, that was really difficult
Yeah. Yeah.
for me.
So the other thing is, you haven't asked me the next question, but I'll.
Oh, did we send you a list?
No,
Oh, good.
but I've
Okay,
seen some of your interviews.
go ahead and ask me the next question, or ask yourself the next question.
Well, it was something about my first gig and the first time
Okay.
I improvised and stuff like that.
Okay. What was your first paying Dixieland gig?
Well, that's a difficult question.
Okay, then I won't ask it. How about? No, I'm kidding.
Not really. You got me thinking. And back in high school, I was actually back in junior high school. We put together a little Dixieland band, and of course we were all just kids, and we read the parts, and that was fun. And then in high school, there was my high school had Straw Hatters, which was a little Dixieland band, and again we played the little books.
Bill Moffitt Sound Power?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And then after college, I gave up the horn. I put it away, and I didn't play for many, many years. But that's when I started to sing Barbershop, which was an education because I learned a lot of songs singing in Barbershop quartets.
A lot of songs I don't know, as a matter of fact.
Well, a lot of songs that we do know, a lot of songs that are standards in the Dixieland trad jazz world are standards in the Barbershop world. My
Sure.
Delta, Darkness on the Delta, My Buddy, a lot of tunes,
Yeah.
overlap. And so I learned them singing them and harmonizing to them rather than playing them. So I was still learning even though I wasn't playing, but then I had given up the horn, and then I saw an ad on cable TV with a Long Beach community band. He said, if you play an instrument, come on down. And so I did. And so I joined the community band and I found a horn, a horrible tuba. And in that band is where I met Mike Henry, and at first he formed a Dixieland band, the Good Time Dixieland 7.
Huh.
And it was terrible.
Who was the personnel?
Not that the players were bad. They were all classically trained
Sure.
and community band players. So we could play well. We just didn't know the style, and we didn't know the tunes. So Mike wrote everything out, and we read. But I learned a few tunes that way also.
Yeah, well, of course, that works with the hot rhythm format
Yeah.
because all of those guys in that era were classically trained musicians
Yeah.
that were trying to make a living, and so they were shoved into these dance bands and playing things verbatim. Yeah.
Yeah. But the first band that Mike put together, the Good Time Dixieland 7, but we didn't know about really playing together and taking solo choruses and if it feels good, go around again and then do a shout chorus. And we just played what he put in front of us, and it was an education, but
It's a learning point. I mean, that's how
Oh yeah.
that's how I taught, how I still teach kids at the high school level, is I put a chart in front of them and say, like a month later, go, well,
Yes. That is tough. How do you teach a kid how to play trad jazz?
On a
Yeah.
on a one-to-one basis, when I have students that want to learn how to play jazz in general, I'll teach them the melodic line, and then I'll keep increasing the tempo until they make mistakes. I
Uh-huh.
tell them to keep going
Yes.
and just keep going. And eventually they understand. They go, oh, you don't want me to play the melody. I said, well, I said, I want you to play what comes naturally out of your horn, you know, still thinking of the melody, or
Yeah.
play what. And so that's one of the approaches I take a lot of the time. But it depends on the kid. To be honest, and I'm not talking out of school here because I've actually stopped teaching since March. Um, there are kids that are just jazz musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I, I shouldn't say this, but I really don't think you can teach somebody to be a great jazz musician. I think they either hear it or they don't,
Yeah.
and they have to if they listen to it and enjoy it and can absorb that way, then they have a chance. But if you're trying to teach it from a scholastic point of view, it's death.
Yes.
It's death to give them theory and say, okay, you can do this, but play flat five here and what play the flat third there, and wait till the 2-5-1 turnaround happens, and you want to go back and make sure to play the pentatonic on. And
Yeah. That's
it
too
doesn't,
much.
it doesn't teach them how to play jazz. It teaches them how to be an Orange County musician usually. So,
Yes.
so you got me on something I wanted to talk about. Now I'm in trouble. Oh, anyway.
Well, we have every once in a while we have some kids come to the jazz clubs, and it's hard. Number one, they're not real proficient on their instruments, so you want to help them technically how to play, but and you want to give them a taste of what you're trying to play, the style you're trying to play.
Yeah.
It's tough.
When I was talking to Zane, did you see my interview with Zane?
Yes. Yeah.
I was telling him how sorry I was for him because he's in a band where like 6 people think they can play the banjo and are constantly giving him tips, including me, you know? And so the fact that he stuck with it and is as serious about banjo playing as he is and learning the style really proves his mettle in my eyes, you know?
Yes.
And then you have guys like Steve Osario, who has mastered the attitude, and he's going to watch it. He's a fan of my show. And
Yes.
Steve, I just want to tell you that the attitude will take you so long, but you've got to get the rest of the technique and ear down. But I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that you're playing Dixieland trombone, by the way, Stephen. And a lot of those guys that we have come through the jazz clubs and people we've nurtured along in Curly, sometimes it takes, sometimes it doesn't, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think Curly's is a great place just because you, even more so than me at times, are so giving of letting people sit in and find their way, you know?
Yeah.
And
So,
even some of the adults we have play your kind in giving. And,
yeah. Well, that I'm trying to figure out how to do that too. I've done a few sessions with Dick Williams at the festivals. Dick Williams would have the Jazz Sea Jammers, and that's a band of players who are not playing at the festival and actually not playing anywhere. But he invites them to come and play and sit in. And so if the festivals start up again, I might be doing that in a couple of the local festivals, Pismo and San Diego.
I certainly think, and I've told you this, and I don't think you really believed me the first time I said it, but I think our band the core of our band that we have at Curly's is good enough to do almost any festival, and
So.
be respected. By the way, you know there are a lot of bands. I've done lots of festivals, and there are a lot of bands who I walk by the door. When I walk by the door and I look inside and I hear it for a minute, and I just keep walking, and I don't think we're one of those, you know.
I agree. So let's see.
So it brings us to more young talent. Zane and his parents, you know, I keep telling Zane how lucky he is to have such supportive parents.
Yes.
And that's so true. And then the kids that we get to come down to the jazz club and run through that mill, it's if they come back a second and third time, then you know we're onto something.
That you know how Zane got connected with Curly's.
He doesn't know either, by the way. I asked him why, because
He-
neither of his parents are musical.
No, and I don't remember the first time I met him, but it might have been at Curly's, and I think I invited him to play, and he played some there, and then he mentioned it too that he dropped out for a while, not from playing, but from playing trad jazz and playing with us. And one Wednesday, when I was at Kinko's copying sing-along sheets for Katie and me, he and his mom were there, and we started talking, and I said, you know, we miss him and we'd like to have him come back, and so he did. So it was just by chance that we reconnected.
That's great. No, I haven't interviewed Peter yet. I mean, I really need to do that too. Peter Cho.
Yes.
And but a lot of the kids who have gone through our program, a lot of the young people that have gone through our program, everybody's kids to me at this age, you know.
Oh, yes, yes.
And it's really cool to see that it's going to be carried on. It's going to be
Yes.
the basis. Almost every interview I've done, we've talked about the neglect of the school system and the educational format in teaching early jazz, and it just seems wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't play Miles Davis until you've listened to Louis Armstrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, CJ, I'm so glad you agreed to do this. Other than, of course, I tell everybody, if we get started back up again at our normal position, we'll be at Curly's. As you know, I pump that every week on my Facebook or whatever medium I have to say, come on down.
Yes.
And other than that, are you still in the community band, by the way? I know that you were in and out and in and out.
At this point, I'm out. Well, the band, of course, is on hiatus until we can get back together. But at this point, I was playing second cornet in the band, and let's just say I'm out for a while.
As you remember, I was just about to launch another season of Brassworks too, right when
Yes.
this all hit. So what are you going to do? You know?
Yeah, it's tough getting. At least it's structured my day. I have two things that I do every day, and that's get out and walk a couple of miles and get out the cornet and practice for 45 minutes to an hour every day. But so
that's more than I get to do.
Yeah.
There's something about living in a small dwelling with your daughter, wife, and two grandkids that really puts a kink in practicing sousaphone.
Oh my, yes.
Actually, I do these from my son's house, from my son's apartment in Anaheim Hills, so I can have some quiet when I'm doing interviews. So.
Yes, I'm noticing in your background. It looks like you have a little more room than.
Oh yeah, that's no. If you saw the earlier interviews, you'd see those rainbow curtains behind me.
Yes.
And I just said, nah, let's put up a fake background. And it looks impressive if you don't notice when I move that I become invisible. But I cop to it, you know. Sir, thank you very much. Please give the wife a kiss for me.
Okay.
And I look forward to the day when we can play music again. Anxiously, by the way.
Well, yes, me too. Me too.
Oh, and let me know when this group, Curly's play along happens.
Well, we're working on it. Katie has volunteered to put it together, so I'm dealing with her to try to see who does what where and who should we add first. And
as you're constantly revising the arrangement, I see this. Yeah,
it's in the works.
All right, sir. You take care now.
Okay, you too.
You have anything else you need?
Yeah.
Cool.
Also at Curly's, I mentioned Katie. Katie and I have been there every Wednesday for many years now. I think I'm the one of the most envied tuba players because I get to play with Katie once a week.
I know I'm envious. And you know that I'm envious.
Yeah, this is Katie Cabrera, and she plays banjo, and we do a lot of sing-along tunes and have fun. And hopefully that's going to get started again too at Curly's when it opens up again.
Yeah, it's really a wonderful thing. Of course, every so often you'll have people who come down with instruments and either play or hold them as well.
Yeah.
But the sing-along atmosphere is a great thing, you know.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm surprised that there are fans that don't transfer over between Fridays and Wednesdays. And I understand it, but it's just kind of funny at times.
I think it has more to do with eating at Curly's twice a week. That's a bit much.
Oh, I don't want to go there. All right, sir. Make sure to say hello to the wife for me, and we'll do this again, hopefully at some point in time, either on stage or in person.
Sounds good.
All right, sir. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Trad Jazz Today. Dan shows new interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure to check out the archive of past shows, and please give us a thumbs up when you subscribe to the channel. Bye.